Hey Sharon, Chag Sameach. You're muted, but I have it set so yeah. I have it set so that everybody's muted as soon as they come in.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Hey Judy and Jules.
Hello.
Chag Sameach, how are you?
Sameach, we're good. You don't need our sign. We'll just keep it there for future, maybe. Oh. Which one do we want?
The
Shabbos and holiday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's the book.
Shabbos and festivals.
That's it.
There you go.
In the back of this book, there's a listing of 12 ways you interpret different things when you're reading the Torah.
Yes.
And I found it fascinating.
Yeah.
I happened to come across it, and I didn't realize it was in there.
Oh, it's in. It's usually in the preliminary service as something to read from rabbinic literature, and it's 13 principles
Right.
of interpretation.
Yes.
Yeah, so it is interesting, especially as a lawyer, to know what are the rules. You can't just interpret any way you want. It has to follow a particular system. So
interesting.
It is interesting that the rabbis allowed themselves to the authority to interpret God's word in that way, with the chutzpah of saying God wanted people to interpret the Torah in that way. So, and they got these from the Romans and the Greeks from, rules of logic and legal interpretation. So, yeah.
But they put their imprimatur on it.
Yes.
Cantor Adina's up there.
She is on, but she's muted. Unmute yourself, Adina. There you go. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
I'm going to make you a co-host like I did yesterday, but I want to then hope somebody else will be a co-host today. So Cantor Adina, after Hallel, we'll do the Psalm for Sunday and Mourner's Kaddish, and then we'll go off and do the video things. I have a video of a woman scribe showing how a Torah is written, so I thought that would be interesting. And we'll do our Torah scavenger hunt. We'll see how that goes. I have another Josh Warshopsky song to play, and a little bit more from BJ.
I just found one thing for the scavenger hunt. I forgot.
You got something? Good, good.
I got one thing.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Forgot
I had to come up with 5, one for each book of the Torah, just in case.
I forgot until this morning, so
That's okay.
Well, they put out 4 pieces of matzah with that, so you'll have 5.
No, I was told.
No,
I'll
you,
use matzah too.
Matzah didn't count.
it's called aggravating the rabbi.
Yeah, that's it. Very good. Very good. Hey, Julian, Chag Sameach. You're muted. You're muted. Everybody's muted as soon as they come in.
Hag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
How's the mayor? That's Julian. That's Julian's store.
Julian, would you be willing to be a Zoom co-host this morning?
Gotta go look downstairs.
Yeah, sure.
Yes? You'll pay
Yes.
attention as people come in and,
Yeah.
okay, great. Good. Nobody had signed up for yesterday or today, so, but I figured I could take the chance.
Oh, nobody signed up for yesterday?
No, I got Morris Berman to do it at the last second, but no one had signed up ahead of time. I have the next several
All right,
weeks.
I'm here for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks. I don't know how many people will be on today, but we'll see.
Have faith.
I didn't make it last.
Have faith, yeah. Thanks, Jules. Yes. Rabbi shouldn't lack faith. It's kind of hard to get into the Simchat Torah mood on Zoom.
No, right. I passed by Southeast last night and the lights were all on in there, so they must have had something going
I'm
on.
sure they did.
I
Yeah,
almost went in.
now you wouldn't want to do that, Julian. Don't risk anything. Just
I
because
put a
other
mask
people
on.
are,
What am I gonna do?
what?
I'll put a mask on.
It's more than that. You have to stay away. You have to stay far enough away from people.
I do.
Yeah, it's just very hard. It's very hard to get people to understand that what you need to do to stay healthy. Hey, Steve, Chag Sameach.
Hag Sameach.
Glenn will be down in a bit, but I don't know exactly when.
It's okay. It's okay. We got 5 minutes. I have faith that we will. Oh, nice Simchat Torah flag there, Steve. Good.
I made it on back at Lockwood Drive.
Oh my goodness.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very good.
Could you hear me okay?
No.
Your internet connection, well, I don't know. You're coming out slow, but it's okay. It's okay. As long as you can hear us and we see you fine. We see you totally
Yes.
fine. We saw the flag, everything. It's just when you talk, it's just a slow connection. So no worries.
It's weird. Other sites, it seems to work perfectly fine.
Yeah, but Zoom takes up a lot of bandwidth. So other sites don't take up as much. You got video and audio working at the same time, so.
Zoom makes your system work super hard.
Yes. Chag Sameach, Gershon. You're muted.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. I can't believe the 4 weeks of holidays have come to an end. It's
about time, right?
it's about time. That's right.
It feels different this year.
Oh yeah,
So,
very, very different.
it's not that that normal breathless blur.
Yeah.
But,
I thought it would be easier. Didn't have to walk to shul, shorter services, but
Just
no.
roll out of bed, right? Just roll out of bed.
Just essentially, yeah. I moved upstairs to an extra bedroom instead of rolling downstairs to the basement. I'm just 10 feet away.
That's why the echo is different.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds. It's a little. The echo's a little deadened in the basement.
All right.
That's probably true where I
Adina,
am
your,
too.
your volume is low, Adina.
Okay, I'm. Is that better?
No,
I
not
hear.
really.
Well,
Hey, you're fine.
We hear you, but we don't. I don't hear
yeah. Well,
you
just
the
raise
same-
the volume on your computer, then
I
you
am a
can.
little bit, but I'm already up to 90. I don't want to push it too much.
That's all right.
And
That's
I've
all right.
I've got the volume on my external mic reasonably high too. It's just
all
I was Julian, I was sitting about 3 feet away from it.
Yeah.
No, I was still asleep.
Chag Sameach, Mars.
Chag Sameach, Boker Tov.
Yeah.
Error.
All right. I think 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're on.
Yeah, I think we have a minion, and here comes Susan Rubenstein. Very good.
Okay.
Chag Sameach, Bender Feldmans. So let me, I'm going to mute everyone and then turn it over to Julian to be our co-host. And Cantor Adina will unmute herself. And so here's the plan for the morning for all those who are here at the very start. You get to hear the agenda. We have the morning service and until 10 o'clock, where about 10 o'clock is when Hallel will begin. And then we have the Psalm for the day. And then we have some fun things that I'll be sharing through the screen for Simchat Torah. And we'll also have our Simchat Torah scavenger hunt. So I hope you've been a little bit creative, prepared a little bit to at least find one thing in your house that connects to something from the Torah, if not 5 things, one for each book of the Torah. I've prepared just in case I got something for each book to share. So we'll have that scavenger hunt, something else to share from BJ and Josh Warshawski. So we'll have some fun this morning, and we're looking forward to it. So Chag Sameach, everyone. And there are 2 Sidurim that I call pages from. The Shabbat Lev Shalem. We begin at the top of page 147, or the Shabbat Sim Shalom prayer book. We begin the middle of page 105, Ha'el.
Ha'el betatzumot uzecha Hagadol bichvot shemecha Hagibor lanetzach ve'onoro benorotecha Hamelech hayoshev al kisei ram v'nisa Shochenad marom
קדוש שמו. וכתוב רעננו צדיקים באדוני, לישרים נבוא תהילה. לפי ישרים תתהלל, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקהלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל. שכן חובת כל היצורים לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להלל ולקלס על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. קדושה ומלכות, ברכות ויודעות מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל הודות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך
If we can, we rise for Chatzi Kaddish in the Sim Shalom 106 in Lev Shalem 148.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה, וילמד דברי קירותך, וימלך מלכותך בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכו בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמך רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמך תקודשה בריחו. לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל.
You may be seated. We continue in Lev Shalem, the middle of 152 onto 153, or in the Sim Shalom on the bottom of 109 to 110.
המאיר לארץ ולדרים עליה ברחמים. תברך אדוני אלוהינו על שבח מעשה ידיך, ועל מאורעו שעשית יפארוך סלה. ברך צורינו מלכנו וגואלנו בורא קדושים. צוקונם וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושה וטהרה, בשירה וזמרה, ומברך מבורכים ומשבחים ומפארים ומעריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול הגיבור והנורא קדוש הוא וכולם מקבלים עליהם עול מלכות שמיים זה מזה וכולם מקבלים עליהם עול מלכות שמיים זה מזה ונותנים רשות זה לזה להקדיש ליוצרם בנחת רוח בשפה ברורה ובנימה קדושה כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו מלאכים וחיות הקודש ברעש גדול מתנשאים לעומת צרפים לעומתם משבחים ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו המחדש בטובו בכל יום תמיד מעשה וראשית כאמור לעושרים גדולים כי לעולם חסדו אור חדש על ציון תאיר 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 ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
We're on page 154 in Lev Shalem or 111 in Sim Shalom. We gather together the tzitzit in preparation for the Shema.
והאר עינינו בתורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך ויחד לבבנו לאהבה וליראה את שמך ולא נבוש לעולם ועד ולא לעולם ועד כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו כי אל פועל ישועות אתה ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת להודות לך וליחדך באהבה ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל מאהבה שמע ישראל אדוני בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We're in the middle of page 156 in Lev Shalem, or the top of page 113 in the Sim Shalom.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם, ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. לדור ודור קיים, ושמו קיים, וכיסאו נכון, ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת. אמת שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, מלכנו מלך אבותינו, גואלנו גואל אבותינו, יוצרנו צור ישועתנו, פודנו ומצילנו מעולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך, את אבותינו אתה הוא מעולם. תהילות לאל עליון, ברוך הוא ומבורך, משה ומרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עולמים. אוסף אלה, שיר החדש, שמך גאולים, לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו, והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם
If
ועד.
we can, we rise.
צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופדך נאומך, יהודה וישראל, גאלנו, אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
We start the festival Amida out loud. In the Shabbat Sim Shalom, we turn to page 123. In Lev Shalem, we turn ahead to page 306. 306. Again, we start out loud.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekone Hakol, Vezocher Chasadei Avot, Umevi Goel Livnei Vneihem, Lema'an Shemo Bi'ahava. Melech Ozer Ufoked, Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ufoked Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye Metim Ata Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv Haruach, Umorid Agashem, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Metim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Bal Gevurot, Umida Melach, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה, ואמר, קדוש, קדוש, קדוש אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנשאים לעומת שרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך תשלח עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב בימינו, לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור, ולנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. על ידי דוד משיח צדקך.
Adonai le'olam ha'akshem devador. Hallelujah.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפי לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue silently in Lev Shalem 309 to 314, in Sim Shalom 125 to 128. We include the phrases for Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah. As we conclude our private prayers, we continue with Sim Shalom. In Lev Shalem, we're on the right side on 313. In the Shabbat Sim Shalom, we're on the bottom of 127.
שים, שים, שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה בעולם. שים, שים, שים שלום טובה וברכה. חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד באור פניך. שים, שים, שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה בעולם. שים, שים, שים שלום טובה וברכה. כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו תורתך חסד וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום. שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה בעולם. שים שלום טובה וברכה, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה בעולם. שים שלום טובה וברכה. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
Amen. We continue with Hallel now, in Lev Shalem, we're on page 316. In the Sim Shalom, we're on page 133, and we rise if we can.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav ve'tzivanu likro et ha'halel.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hallelujah. מקימים
מעפר מאשפות ירים אביון, להושיבים נריבים עם נריבי עמו, מושיבי עקרת הבית, הם הבנים שמחה, הללויה. בצאת ישראל ממצרים, בית יעקב מעם לועז, הייתה יהודה לקודשו, ישראל ממשלותיו. הים רב הינוס, הירדן יסוב לאחור, ההרים רקדו כאלים, גבעות כבני צאן. מלך הים איתנו, הירדן יסוב לאחור, ההרים ירקדו כאלים, גבעות כבני צאן. מלפני אדון כולי ארץ, מלפני אלוה יעקב, אהובכי הצור, אגמיים, חלמיש, למיינו מים, לא לנו.
ישראל בטח באדוני, עזרם ומגינם.
ישראל בטח באדוני עזרם ומגינם הוא, בית אהרון ביטחו באדוני עזרם ומגינם הוא, יראי Adonai bitchuv Adonai Ezram umaginam hu. Adonai zecharanu yevarech et Beit Yisrael, yevarech et Beit Aharon, yevarech yirei Adonai haketanim im hagedolim. Yosef Adonai aleichem, aleichem ve'al bnechem, beruchim atem l'Adonai, עושה שמיים וארץ, השמיים שמיים לאדוני, והארץ נתן לבני אדם, לא המתים יהללויה, ולא כל יורדי דומה, ואנחנו נברך יח מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה. אהבתי לשמוע.
We're on 318 in Lev Shalem, or 135 in the Sim Shalom.
אתהלך לפני אדוני בארצות החיים, האמנתי כי אדבר, אני הניתי מאוד, אני אמרתי וחופשי, כל האדם כוזב, משיב לאדוני כל תגמול. לך אזבח זבח תודה, ובשם אדוני אקרא נדרי לאדוני אשלם נגדנה לכל עמו בחצרות בית אדוני בתוככי ירושלים, בחצרות בית אדוני בתוככי ירושלים. הללויה, הללויה, הללו, הללו, הללויה. הללו את אדוני כל גויים, שבחו, שבחו כל לאומים, כי גבר עלינו חסדו, ומת אדוני לעולם. הללויה. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. יאמרנה ישראל, כי לעולם חסדו. יאמרונה ואת אהרון, כי לעולם חסדו. יאמרונה ירא אדוני, כי לעולם חסדו. מן המצר קראתיך, ענני ומרחביך. מן המצר קראתיך, ענני ומרחביך. ענני, ענני, ענני ומרחביך. ענני, ענני, ענני ומרחביך.
Onto 320 in Lev Shalem, or the bottom of 136 in Sim Shalom.
פיתחו לי שערי צדק, אבוא ומודיע. פיתחו לי שערי צדק, אבוא ומודיע. זה אשר לאדוני צדיקים יבואו. זה אשר לאדוני צדיקים יבואו בו. עודך כי עניתני ותהי לי לישועה. עודך כי עניתני ותהי לי לישועה. אבן מעשו הבונים, הייתה לראש פינה. אבן מעשו הבונים, הייתה לראש פינה. מאת אדוני הייתה זאת, היא נפלאת בעינינו. מאת אדוני הייתה זאת, היא נפלאת בעינינו. זה היום עשה אדוני, נגילה ונשמחה בו. זה היום עשה אדוני, נגילה ונשמחה בו. אנא אדוני הושיענה.
Ana Adonai Hoshiana.
אנא אדוני הושיענה.
Ana Adonai Hoshiana.
אנא אדוני הצליחנה.
Ana Adonai Atzlichana.
אנא אדוני הצליחנה.
Ana Adonai Atzlichana.
ברוך הבא בשם אדוני, ברכנוכם מבית אדוני. ברוך הבא בשם אדוני, ברכנוכם מבית אדוני. אל אדוני וירא לנו, ישרו חג באבותים עד קרנות המזבח. אל אדוני וירא לנו, ישרו חג באבותים עד קרנות המזבח. אלי אתה ועודך, אלוהי ירוממך. אלי אתה ועודך, אלוהי ירוממך. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. בחסדו. יהללוך אדוני אלוהינו ולבסך. כי לך טוב להודות לשמך נאה לזמר, כי מעולם ועד עולם אתה אל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך מהולל בתשבחו.
Amen. We continue with the full Kaddish 138 in the Sim Shalom, 321 in Lev Shalem.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה,
Amen.
ועלמא דברה קירותך, וימליך מלכותך בחיי חון וביומי חון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן. ישמע רבה מברך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמך לקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותו נבואות ההון לכל ישראל קדם אבו הונדי ושמיה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
So we detour back in our Sidurim for the Psalm for Sunday. Psalm for Sunday is found in the Sim Shalom on page 73. In the Lev Shalem, it's found in the back of the Sidur, 433, page 433 in Lev Shalem. Yom Yom Rishon Shabbat.
יום ראשון בשבת שבו
David Mizmor.
דוד מזמור. שירו שערים ראשיכם ושירו פתחי עולם ויבוא מלך הכבוד. מי הוא זה מלך הכבוד? אדוני צבאות מלך הכבוד סלה.
Mourner's Kaddish is found in Sim Shalom on page 82. In Lev Shalem, it's on page 121. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, le'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, hagala v'zman karivim ru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'olam u'me'omaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shloma rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. So at this time, normally if it's kind of hard to remember what normal was like, but if we were in the synagogue with the Cantor Adina and my virtual background reminding us what the sanctuary looks like and what the bima looks like, now would be the time to get ready for the hakafot, taking the Torah scrolls out of the ark and singing and dancing with them as long as our energy would last. And obviously we can't do that this year. Some synagogues are being loosely creative by trying to do it outside, but we didn't want to attempt that because we were being extra cautious about your health and safety. And when you sing and dance with a Torah scroll and just sing and dance with other, you're just going to want to be close to people, and we didn't want to take that chance. So instead, Babette Cohn is here. She's our education director and program director. She and I were talking about ideas that we could do. And so I want to share my screen first to share something with you, because when we sing and dance with the Torah scrolls, really we should try to understand what is this Torah scroll. We obviously understand that it contains the 5 books of Moses. It's written in a particular way, and it has been written that way. We know for sure for 2,000 years from how the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered and were written and dated to be about 2,000 years old. We know that it contains the basis, the foundation for who we are as Jews today and what we do and what we believe. But what is so special about this Torah scroll? How is it written? Who can write it, etc.? So I first want to share my screen and share with you this brief interview. It's just under 10 minutes long with a woman scribe. This is an interview with a woman scribe, and so you'll see this fascinating story.
The Torah is the 5 books of Moses, and it's the source and base of the Jewish tradition, revealed to Moses on Mount Sinai by God. And we're the people of the book, so this is the book. When a Torah is read in synagogues, it has to be read from a scroll, and it has to be written in a particular way, by hand. My name is Julie Seltzer, and I'm currently working as a scribe, a soferet in Hebrew, which means that I write sacred writings. My role in this exhibit is to write a Torah that will be used in synagogues and in communities that are in need of a Torah. I'm a new scribe. This will be my first complete Torah. It's a science. It's a science that I'm still learning. Traditionally, you go to a school and you learn how to be a scribe as a student of scribing. But as a woman, these schools were not open to me. So in the beginning of my process, I looked online and I taught myself some of the basics. And then eventually I found a teacher. And from there, that's when I really started learning the craft and how to properly form the letters. And it's also when I began learning the laws associated with scribing. You start with parchment. And parchment is made from the skin of a kosher animal. And then there's something to write with, which is the quill, which is, for me, the most challenging aspect currently. Cutting the quill from a feather, just getting it the right size, the right sharpness, the right angle, the right flow of ink. Before starting a project, and often during a project, it's traditional to go to a mikveh, a ritual bath, which is really for spiritual elevation. And also before you begin the project, you have to state an intention out loud, that you're doing this writing for the sake of the sanctity of what it is that you're writing. A Torah has 304,805 letters. Not one more, not one less, or else the entire thing is invalid. Every letter has rules that govern how the letter has to be written, because a letter can't look too much like another letter. If you look at a Torah closely, there are score lines. At the top of each line, there's an indentation, and it keeps the line straight. Another interesting rule is that there can't be a barrier between the hand and the Torah. I can't wear gloves that cover my hands. Another rule is that you can't write from memory. So even if I chanted this particular section at my bat mitzvah and I know it by heart, I still have to look at the written text, and I have to say each word out loud before I write it. I have the photocopy of the tikkun, so I underline each line that I write so I can follow where I am exactly. If my eye goes to the wrong place, I know where I am. It makes it easier to not make mistakes. The biggest myth about scribing that I've encountered is the myth that scribes can't make any errors, or else they have to start over from the very beginning of the Torah. If and when I make a mistake, if I catch it right then and there, I try to remove as much ink as I can, because it will be easier to scrape off. Some days will be better than others. Everyone has their bad days. Generally for me, it's a bad quill day, which just means that I'm forming and reforming the quills. But in the end, it's worth it, because if you cut a good quill, then the writing goes really smoothly. Sometimes I'm in the story and I'm experiencing the story as I'm writing it, if it's more of a narrative section. And sometimes I'm really not thinking at all about anything. I'm just writing. But it's meditative, and I'm hearing the words, I'm looking at the words, I'm saying the words. You have to say every word of the Torah out loud before you write it. So I'm saying the word, hearing myself say it, and then writing it. Every single person that writes a Torah is going to write a slightly different looking Torah, even though it's completely anonymous. I'm not signing it, it's not my creative stamp, and I don't want that. It's a submission to something much larger than yourself. There's really nothing different about the Torah that I would create now versus 2,000 years ago in terms of the words and the letters. And that's part of what's amazing about this work, is that I'm writing the same words as have been written for this many years. And for me personally, it just connects me back to something bigger, something greater, something much more timeless than me and my very impermanent, quick visit on this earth.
Just 1 second here. And so I thought, I want to credit Babette for opening my mind here about, because if you Google how to write a Sefer Torah, or just how to write a Torah, you'll see tons of hits of men with long beards and the tzitzit hanging, writing a Torah. And as a man, I take for granted that that's who writes a Torah. And so when Babette and I were talking, and we were talking also about showing videos about people dancing with the Torahs, also the hits there come up are mostly yeshiva students singing and dancing with the Torahs. Wouldn't it be nice, Babette said, if we could see people who look like us doing these things, which is an extremely valid and important point. And so I'm glad I found that video of that woman Soferet writing the Torah, because anybody can write a Torah. You see the painstaking process involved in writing the Torah scroll, and how it's a labor of love to do so. And you saw her beautiful calligraphic style. I mean, just really how beautiful that Torah scroll is. So any questions or comments about that before we go on to the next thing that we do this morning? Any questions about that? Riva.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, does everyone accept the fact that a Soferet's writing a Torah, or would it just be?
I would say that outside of the Orthodox Jewish community, everybody else in the Jewish community accepts it. Absolutely. So,
but not within the Orthodox community.
So I would qualify that one too. So I would say those Orthodox synagogues that have what are known as a maharat, a woman rabbi, but in the Orthodox world, women are not called rabbis, even though they have the exact same training as men do. They come up with this other title called maharat. So like Beth Shalom in Potomac had a maharat. They don't have one now. Ohav Shalom on 16th Street in DC has a maharat. So it's possible that those more liberal Orthodox synagogues might even look for a Torah that was written by a Soferet. But usually, I would say the more traditional Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox would not accept it, but everybody else would. Does a man have to go to the mikveh before writing a Torah? So since I'm not a sofer, I don't know all of the rules, but I would imagine so, yes. So yes, when she said she goes to the mikveh before writing, it's not about her being a woman. It's about the idea of writing, doing something in a state of utmost purity and sanctity. So there's a tradition for people to go to the mikveh on before Shabbat. So there are many Hasidim, other traditional Jews who will go to a mikveh every Friday afternoon to enter Shabbat in a sacred, pure way. And so writing a Torah scroll, the Torah scroll itself, the most sacred object that we have in our tradition, should be written in the most sacred, pure way as possible. So whoever is writing, man or woman, I think needs to go to the mikveh before they start writing.
Rabbi?
Yes, Judy.
What kind did the person have to take a course?
Yeah, so she said she had to take a class, and that was the hard thing to do, because classes to learn how to be a sofer are usually run by men, Orthodox men with the long beards and a tzitzit hanging out, so they wouldn't take kindly to a woman taking the class. So she had to find other people to teach her, which is possible to do. There are women scribes today who are trained, and they could train other people to do it. The training involved means knowing where to get the parchment from. It could, and one day it could have meant knowing how to make the parchment. Don't have to know that, but you have to know that the parchment that you're buying is kosher. how to make the quill, as she pointed out, that's the hardest thing to do. It's usually a turkey feather, but to fashion the quill in just the right way so the ink flows in just the right way so that it works. And then how to make the ink also. You're not going to a stationery store to buy black ink. You have to make the ink yourself. And then it's also the font, how you're writing the letters and which letters get those decorations on them. So you noticed her putting the three-pointed crown on some of those. Only some letters get a crown. So you have to know how to do that. So it's all of that. And then it's just practice as well to make sure that you're, as you're writing, you're smooth and you're doing, you know how to score the lines, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll take one more question. If there's another question, I can't tell from all the screens, but okay. So I'm glad that you found that. How long does it take? It usually takes a year to write a Torah scroll because you see the painstaking work involved. You have to say every word out loud. You have to make sure that you're writing the right word. Then you write the word and you have to check again and double check to make sure you've done it exactly right. And then if you make a mistake, she showed what happens when you make a mistake. It's almost you can tell that there wasn't another letter there before, but you can tell. So you don't want to make a mistake because you have to takes a while for the ink to dry. So then you can scrape it off and then do it again. So it takes an extremely, and usually you're not writing for 8 hours a day because the concentration and the energy involved in it, it's just a lot. So you have to, you're spending just a couple hours a day. That's why it takes a year to do it. And that's why it's so expensive to buy a Torah, to buy a new, yes.
I just want to add one thing she didn't say about when you make a mistake and the myth that you have to rewrite the whole Torah.
Yeah.
It's if you can't scrape off the letter, you do the whole panel over, not the whole.
That's true too. It also depends on the mistake that you make. She didn't say if you make a mistake in God's name, because I've heard if you make a mistake in God's name, you can't erase that and do it over. You would have to get rid of that panel. And one panel of parchment has three or four columns on it. So that's why you're making sure you're careful and extra careful. So you're not making any mistake at all. Okay, what I wanted to do next is, so now we know how a Torah is written. We've seen how it's done. And those of us who have been in our religious school for a couple of years, remember when we had a sofer come from J-Craft and people had the experience of learning how to write and to do that themselves too. So we've had that in our synagogue. But now, what is the Torah? What are the stories of the Torah? So Babette had this idea of the Torah scavenger hunt, that if we can find objects in our home from each of the 5 books of the Torah, we can kind of go through the story of the Torah together as we're showing our objects. So does anybody have anything they want to share from the book of Genesis, the book of Bereshit? So let's see first if any of our religious school families have something to share from the book of Genesis. I can't see everyone on the screens because we're on 2 screens. So just let's start with a religious school family first. If anybody has something from the book of Genesis, from the book of Bereshit to share. Any? Then, okay, so Babette, yes, unmute yourself.
Okay, so I thought about this. And I thought about creation and Shabbat because I finished Shabbat last night.
Yes.
And I don't know if you can see this. So this is a challah cover that says Shabbat on it that I got when I got married from someone.
Very nice. Very nice. So that's very good. So we're starting at the very beginning of Genesis. a portion that we're going to read a little bit later this morning. So the seventh day of creation was the day of rest. So good. Who else has? I saw Susan Rubenstein had something, and then we'll get to Margie and after Susan.
So I have with me Noah's Ark.
Oh, very good.
Okay. Whoa. Sorry. So I have the Ark, and I have Noah.
And do you have Mrs. Noah?
And of course, Mrs. Noah. And we have all of the animals. So there are different ways you can go into the Ark. There's actually, a bridge in. And of course, we have to have 2 of each. So I'll show you a few of the animals. These were all hand carved. Our son is named Noah, and for his naming service, his naming ceremony, this was one of the wonderful gifts he got, and they're all hand carved. So here are two elephants. Everything is in 2. There are camels. There are different kinds of wood. It's really quite wonderful. So there are a couple of animals that have gone rogue that we have to find, but most of them are in pairs.
Very good.
Yes. So
beautiful. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Margie, what did you have to share?
We were a little more abstract.
Okay.
We have this crystal that hangs in a window in our house and makes a rainbow.
Oh.
When the sun shines through it. So that reminded me of the Noah story.
Very good.
And then I also thought all the colors of the rainbow could also remind me of Joseph's coat.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Judy, unmute. Unmute. Okay. Yeah, what do you got to share?
This is Jules's sweater of many colors.
Very good. Very good. Very nice. Good. So let's go on to, the coat of many colors, of course, from the story of Joseph, Jacob and his 12 sons, and Joseph got the special gift of the coat of many colors. That's what I had also. I took from my wife's closet a dress of many colors. It's ketonet pasim in Hebrew, a cloak of stripes. So I got this out of her closet. I did tell her that I took something out of her closet in case it was gone missing. So now for the book of Exodus, anybody have something to share? Start with religious school families.
Yeah.
They want to share something first. Who said yes?
Herman.
Yeah, go ahead, Mars.
So we were going creative.
Yes.
We have, let me bring this up here. We have here a rock, with a staff in it.
Okay.
You can't see, but there is water that came out of this rock when we put the staff in it.
Very good. Very good. That is a story from the book of Exodus, making water come out of a rock. Very good. Thank you, Morris. Yes, Mr. Wolf, unmute yourself. Jason, what do you have there to share with us from Exodus? Unmute. Go ahead.
Stone made out of Legos.
What do you have?
Stone made out of Legos.
Oh, there it is. Oh, look at that. That is great. Fantastic. What else? What else do we have from the book of Exodus? Riva.
This is from my mother-in-law's apartment.
I
hope you can all see it.
So what is it? Because it's at a distance. Oh, look.
It's Moses giving the 10 Commandments.
Excellent. Wow. Okay. So we have a sculpture to share.
Yes.
Brilliant. Very good. Anybody else have something?
From Mom's dollhouse.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Moses in the basket.
Moses in the basket.
Oh, that's great. That is great. And Sharon Bender, yes. Danica, what do you got? I can't hear you. Say it again.
We have a shofar.
Oh, a shofar.
From Israel.
Very nice. So at Mount Sinai, when the Israelites received the 10 Commandments, they heard the sound of the shofar there. Very good. Very good. And I brought oh, it's green. So that's why my green screen, you can't see it. I'll put it, can I put it in front of my face so you can see it? Yes. You see a frog. So we have these in our Passover box. We have the decoration for the Seder table of the items from the plagues. So I got a frog here, but I didn't realize because it's green that you wouldn't be able to see it. Okay, Leviticus. On to Leviticus. Anybody have anything for the book of Leviticus?
Can we do a screen share?
Okay. We'll take our chances here.
It's me.
Yeah, but let me see how I can do that. I have to make you a co-host.
Well, it's
Yeah.
under security. You could
No,
just.
I've just made you a co-host, so now you can do it. Go ahead. Okay, we'll trust you. Go ahead, screen share. Whoa!
Oh my gorgeous.
Oh, so there you go. Meat and milk, is that what that is?
Yes.
Yep.
Ah, very good. The laws of kashrut there. Very good. All right, anybody else have anything?
Can I get a screen share?
Oh, Barbara, well, no, we see it. We see you're showing it. So what is that?
And this is, I got this in Israel,
Yeah.
and it has the dancing.
Uh-huh. Very nice. That's very pretty. Good. Very good. That's beautiful. I have a Band-Aid for the book of Leviticus. And you might ask, what does a Band-Aid have to do with the book of Leviticus? Well, anybody who had their bar or bat mitzvah or will have it for the portions Tazria and Mitzorah, things, rashes on the body or things that flow, well, you might need a Band-Aid for that. God, spirit of Leviticus. You have to be kind of funny. Yes. Okay.
We have a Leviticus.
Wait.
What you have? Go ahead, Mars.
We have cleanliness.
Ah, very good.
And purity.
Very good. That's right. Laundry basket for that. Yes, Glenn, what do you have for Leviticus?
This is something, it has a long story behind it. I'll have to tell you a different time the story behind it.
Yes.
This is a little bit of Ketoret that some people claim is real Ketoret from ancient times.
Real
what
incense.
is Ketoret. Incense. Okay.
And it's a very long story about how I got
Yes, save it for another time. Okay. So frankincense or myrrh, whatever that is, very nice.
We don't know. This came.
You don't know what it is. And it probably smells vile too. But
No, it came from an archaeological dig. Long story.
Okay. Funky. Very good. Very good. We got incense too. Good. Book of Numbers. Book of Numbers, because time is a fleeting. Who has something for the Book of Numbers? That was might have been a hard one.
I do.
But, Saul, what do you got?
Well, anybody who's wearing seats.
Oh, that's very good. The commandment to wear seat is from the Book of Numbers. Very good, Saul.
To represent,
Mars, what do you got?
To represent the generations and lots of numbers, although you can't really see it. This is a picture made up of hundreds of other sub-pictures inside of it that are the 3 generations of my family.
Oh.
My children, us, and my parents.
Very nice. Very nice. So yes, you have a couple of censuses in the Book of Numbers. Steve, what do you got? Steve Franklin.
From Emor, I found I still have an unopened box of matzah from Passover.
Okay, all right. So
Passover.
Right. So Book of Numbers talks about the Torah readings, the sacrifices offered for all the holidays. So you got matzah there for Passover. Very good. And I have a rock along with the Burmans, because in the Book of Numbers, Moses hit the rock instead of speaking to it, and was punished by not for not being allowed to enter the land of Israel. And let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Anybody
One
have
last
anything?
thing for numbers.
Wait, who's that? Yes, Cantor Adina, what's that?
Roadmap in honor of the Masaim in the desert.
Very good. So that's how the book of Numbers ends, with a roadmap of stopping places that the Israelites went from Egypt until they got to the eastern bank of the Jordan River. Very good. So we're almost at the end of the Torah. Anybody have anything for the book of Deuteronomy?
Book of, what is this? The Code of Jewish Law.
We do. Okay.
Talking about laws.
Yeah, that's right. In Deuteronomy, Moses repeats the laws and teaches some new laws too to the people as he prepares them to enter the land of Israel. And
so we got something.
Yes, Mars.
So we had the end of our sojourn, so we can empty our backpacks.
Very good. Very good. That's creative too. I like the creativity here for people. Very nice. Very nice. I also have a Dr. Seuss, Oh, the Places You'll Go, because Moses taught the people a poem at the end of the book of Deuteronomy. So Dr. Seuss always written in poetry style, but then it's also about where you're going to go in the future and what the values are that you need to uphold in order to succeed in life. So Dr. Seuss for the book of Deuteronomy. Yes, Babette, what do you have?
For entering the land of milk and honey.
There you go. Very good. Very good. So there's our Torah scavenger hunt for today. Yasher koach, everybody. Liked all the creativity there. So let me share a screen at my screen again for some singing and dancing that we, so this is, so this is B'nai Jeshurun on the Upper West Side. I shared a little bit from the first hakafa last night, and that first hakafa went 30 minutes. So now they're starting the second hakafa. So we'll hear them do the traditional phrases first and some of their singing and dancing that they do. So let me. Just move it ahead a little bit.
ולחיי העולם הבא ולבניין בית המקדש לחיי העולם הבא
So I don't want to play that for too long because it just makes me sad that we can't do that this year ourselves. But just take a look at the time there. 4 hours for their service, for singing and dancing with the Torahs on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. It's quite the scene. Actually, this is just the inside. They have as large, if not a much larger crowd outside their building every year. It's the place to go and the place to be seen every year. There's one thing one last thing I want to share with you. Last night I shared a song from Rabbi Josh Warshawski. I liked it very much. And so on his website, joshwarshawski.com, he has some of the latest liturgical songs that he has produced. So this is a new one based on 2 lines from the Matovu prayer that I wanted to share too.
ואני תפילתי לך אדוני רצון ואני תפילתי לך אדוני רצון
So I find Josh Warsofsky and the harmonies that he creates very beautiful. And so that's what and the line is from the Torah, Matovu, the Matovu line is from the Torah and from the book of Numbers, and appropriate today too. But if you're interested in Josh Warsofsky's music, I'm not promoting him at all, but you saw the website and you can play more of that if you want. The BJ, you can just Google BJ Simchat Torah, and you can find you can watch the 4 hours of their Hakafot if you want. And this pales in comparison to what we would much prefer, to be in person, to sing and dance in person, to do the chicken dance together, and the line dance, you know, and all the other dances that are accustomed to do. But hopefully we'll be able to do that together next year in safety and in health. So let's continue with the service now. So thanks to Babette for these ideas, and thanks to the religious school families and for everybody for being creative and sharing what you wanted to share, both funny and serious and beautiful stuff that you shared with your Torah scavenger hunt. So let's read a little bit from the Torah, what we would have read today. Everybody would have had an aliyah, had an opportunity to come to the Torah for that. I just want to say the blessing for Torah study, which we always say before we read from the Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. What I wanted to read is from the end of the book of Deuteronomy. If you have the Eitz Chaim in front of you, it's on page 1209, starting with the 6th aliyah. Verse 27, or if you have any Chumash or any edition of the Bible, you're looking for Deuteronomy chapter 33, beginning with verse 27. I'm going to read from there to the end. When I get to the end, we do Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. Let us be strong, let us strengthen one another as we conclude the Torah and start it all over again. So here we go, 1209, verse 27. Me'ona Elohei kedem umitachat zroot olam vayegaresh mipanecha oyev vayomer hashmeid vayishkon Yisrael betach badadein Yaakov el eretz dagan v'tirosh av shamav yarfutal ashrecha Yisrael michamocha am nosha badonai magein ezrecha v'asher cherev ga'avatecha vayikachashu oivecha lach ve'ata al bamotemo tedroch vayal Moshe me'arvot Moav el har nevo rosh hapiska asher al pnei Yerecho vayar'ehu Adonai et kol ha'aretz et ha'gilad adan ve'et kol Naftali ve'et eretz Ephraim u'Menashe ve'et kol eretz Yehuda ad hayam ha'acharon ve'et ha'negev ve'et ha'kikar bik'at Yerecho ir ha'temarim ad soar vayomer Adonai elav Zot haaretz asher nishbati leAvraham leYitzchak leYaakov le'mor lezarcha et nena heriticha ve'enecha v'shama lo tavor vayamot sham Moshe eved Adonai be'eretz Moav al pi Adonai vayikbor oto v'gai be'eretz Moav mul beit Peor v'lo yada isha kivu rato ad hayom hazeh uMoshe ben me'ah ve'esrim shana bemoto lo chahata eino ve'lo naslecho vayivku b'nei Yisrael et Moshe v'arvot Moav shloshim yom vayitmu yemei v'chi evel Moshe v'Yoshua bin Nun malei ruach chochma ki samach Moshe et yadav alav vayishmeu elav b'nei Yisrael v'ya'asu kasher tzira Adonai et Moshe v'lo kam navi od b'Yisrael k'Moshe asher yada'o Adonai panim el panim lechol ha'otot v'hamoftim, asher shlacho Adonai la'asot be'eretz Mitzrayim lefaro u'lechol avadav u'lechol artso u'lechol hayad hachazaka u'lechol hamorah hagadol asher asa Moshe le'enei kol Yisrael. Chazak,
חזק ונתחזק.
Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek. So at this point, we would have then rolled the Torah out around the sanctuary. We would have all seen how the Torah looks and seen that font, but that's why I shared from the Soferet Julie Seltzer, so we see how a Torah is written. And then we would read from the beginning of Genesis. So I will read quickly what is supposed to be read from Genesis today, all of chapter 1 and the beginning of chapter 2. So it's on page 3 in the Chumash, and it's not hard to find whatever Chumash you are using. Just go to the very beginning. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'haaretz hayeta tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tehom v'ruach Elohim merachevet al pnei hamayim v'yomer Elohim yehi or v'yehi or v'yar Elohim et haor ki tov v'yavdel Elohim ben haor uven hachoshech v'yikra Elohim laor yom v'lachoshech kara laila Vayhi erev vayvoker yom echad Vayomer Elohim yehi rakia betoch hamayim v'yehi mavdil ben mayim lamayim Vayas Elohim et harakia vayavdel ben hamayim asher mitach al harakia uvein hamayim asher me'al harakia vayehi chen Vayikra Elohim larakia shamayim Vayerev vayvoker yom sheni Vayomer Elohim yikavu hamayim mitachal hashamayim el makom echad v'tera'eh hayabasha vayhi chen vayikra Elohim layabasha eretz ulemikvei hamayim kara yamim vayar Elohim ki tov Vayomer Elohim tatshe haaretz deshe esev mazri azera eitz peri ose pri lemino asher zar ovo al haaretz vayhi chen Vatotzei haaretz deshe esev mazriya zera leminehu v'yetz ose pri asher zar ovo leminehu vayar Elohim ki tov vayerev vayvoker yom shlishi vayomer Elohim yehi me'orot birkiyah hashamayim lehavdil ben hayom uven halayla v'hayu lo otot u'lemoadim u'liyamim v'shanim Vahayu lema'orot birkiyah hashamayim laha'ir al haaretz vayehi chen vayas Elohim et shnei ha'me'orot hagedolim et ha'ma'or hagadol lememshelet hayom v'et ha'ma'or hakaton lememshelet halayla v'et ha'kochavim vayiten otam Elohim birkiyah hashamayim laha'ir al haaretz v'limshol bayom uvalayla ulahavdil ben ha'or uven ha'choshech vayar Elohim ki tov Vayerev vayvoker yom revi'i Vayomer Elohim yishritzu hamayim sheretz nefesh chaya va'of yofef al haaretz al pnei rekiah hashamayim Vayivra Elohim et hataninim hagedolim v'et kol nefesh hachaya haromeset asher shartzu hamayim leminehem v'et kol oth kanaf leminehu vayar Elohim ki tov Vayavarech otam Elohim lemor peru urevu umilu et hamayim bayamim v'ha'of irev ba'aretz vayerev vayivoker yom chamishi vayomer Elohim totzei haaretz nefesh chaya lemina v'hema remes v'chayato eretz lemina vayehi chen Vayas Elohim et chayat haaretz lemina v'et behema lemina v'yet kol remes adama leminehu vayar Elohim ki tov vayomer Elohim nase adam bet samenu kidmutenu v'yirdu v'idgat hayam uva'of hashamayim uva behema uva'chol haaretz Uvachol haremes haromes al haaretz, vayivra Elohim et ha'adam b'tzelmo, b'tzelem Elohim bara oto, zachar unekeva bara otam, vayevarech otam Elohim, vayomer lahem Elohim, peru urvu, umilu et haaretz v'chivshuha, uredu bitgat hayam uva'of hashamayim, uvachol chaya haromeset al haaretz, vayomer Elohim, hinei, natati lachem et kol esev zorei zera asher al pnei chol haaretz et kol ha'etz asher bo pri etz zorei zara lachem yeh leochla v'lechol chayat haaretz v'lechol of hashamayim v'lechol romeis al haaretz asher bo nefesh chaya et kol yerek esev leochla vayehi chen. Vayar Elohim ekol asher asa v'hinei tov me'od. Vayera vayvoker yom hashishi. Vayechulu hashamayim va'aretz v'chol tzva'am. Vayachal Elohim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa. Vayishpot bayom hashvi mikol melachto asher asa. Vayavarech Elohim et yom hashvi vaykadesh oto. Kivo shavat mikol melachto. Asher bara Elohim la'asot. So at this point, we'll do the Misha Berach, the prayer for those who are ill. In the Sidur, it's on page 327 in the Lev Shalem, and in Sim Shalom, it's on page 144. I have the list of names, and I'll pause after I read the list of names, and you can add the name or names that you want to add to this list. Misha Berach, Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov, V'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachav Leah, Hu Yivarech v'yarpei et hacholim, Shmuel ben Karet, Penina bat Chanaleah, Semetzivia bat Zelda, Tzipechana bat Golda, Ruth bat Sarah, Nes Gildor ben Shoshana, Shlomo ben Golda, Tzivia Sarah bat Simaleah, Simcha Natan ben Risachana, Avia Sarah bat Cyril Essa, Rachel Penina bat Ariela, Tzipor Sheva bat Razel, Chaim ben Rachelea, Gavriel ben Batya, Yehuda ben Leah, Fruma Dereda bat Zisha, Malka Chava bat Tzivia Sarah, Batya bat Rivka, Gloria Hyacinth, Howard Salter, Shira Elisheva bat Sarah, Yosef Shlomo ben Batya, Maurice Mizrahi, Rachel Fruma bat Ita Razel. Unmute yourselves if you have a name to add.
Kayla bat Chana.
Go ahead, Charlotte. Keep going.
Okay. Kayla bat Chana, Ricky Weiser, Michael Weiser, Donna Cohen, Beverly Tillis, Jay Manius, Yehuda ben Yitzhak, and Abraham ben Moshe.
Rita, go ahead.
Sarah bat Freda Rivka.
Anybody else?
Gershon ben Freya, Baruch ben Rachel, Yirmiyahu ben Aryeh ben Rachel.
Gretchen Marianne Klein, Livia bat Rachel, Reuven Asher ben Leah.
Judy, did you have someone? Judy Singleton? No. Okay.
Cindy Rubenstein, Andrews, Paul Thomas Hines, Beverly Cartledge, Jeannie Shapiro Downey.
Anybody else? The Kol HaCholim B'Kilatenu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Aleihem Lahachazikam L'Rapotam Yishlach Lahem Mehera Refuah Shlema Min HaShamayim Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf B'Toch Shar HaCholim V'Chazek Yididei HaOskim B'Tzarcheihem Yom Tov Hu Milezokur For Akrov Alavo Hasha B'Galav Yizman Kariv and Omar Amen. The Debbie Friedman song. Misherachavotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberachimotenu Mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. if we were in shul, there would have been 2 Torahs that we take out of the ark. Besides singing and dancing with them, we'd leave 2 on the bima to read from. Most synagogues read from 3, but because we unroll the the scroll that we read Deuteronomy from and roll it up to Breshit, we use that scroll for both. But then the third one would be the reading from for the maftir, what we read yesterday from the end of the section of Pinchas, Numbers chapter 29, verses 35 to the end, describing the special offerings brought on Shmini Atzeret and the extra day, which is Simchat Torah. So we're at 936 in the Yetz Chaim. Bayom hashmini atzeret yelachem komelechet avada lo ta'asu v'ikravtem ola isher reach nichoach ladonai parachad ayelachad kevasim b'nei shana shiva tamimim minchatam v'niskehem lapar la'ayel v'la'kevasim v'b'misparam kamishpat u'seir chatat echad milvad ola tatamid u'minchatav v'niska Ele tasu ladonai b'moadechem levad mididrechem v'nidvotechem laolotechem uleminchotechem uleniskechem uleshalmechem Vayomer Moshe el b'nei Yisrael kechol asher tziva Adonai et Moshe. So now we turn to the Haftarah for Simchat Torah. And that is found in the back of the Chumash on page 1267. So for the selection from the first chapter of the book of Joshua, the rabbis chose this as the obvious selection today, because if we read about the end of the Torah, we shouldn't think, the rabbi said, that the story is over. The story continues. Joshua leads the people across the Jordan River into the land of Israel to begin the conquest and the settlement of the land. And so not only is this a history lesson, it's also for the rabbis a hope for the future, that one day in the time of the Messiah, we will all Jews around the world will return to the land of Israel to settle in it. So when we read from the Torah, it's not just about history, it's about looking forward as well. Paul Tillis was supposed to do the Haftarah today. We know that his mother passed away on Friday morning. The tradition is, while you're waiting for the funeral to begin, not to attend services. So thanks to Gershon Kival for stepping in to chant the Haftarah for us with the blessings. So in Lev Shalem, the blessings are on page 328 and 329. In the Sim Shalom, it's the bottom of 146 and 147. And again, the Haftarah is on page 1267. Go ahead, Gershon.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher bachar minim tovim v'ratzav v'divreihem nemarim b'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abocher b'Torah u'b'Moshe avdo Israel amo u'b'nveihu emet v'tzedek v'yehi acharei mot Moshe eved Adonai v'yomer Adonai el Yoshua bin Nun misharet Moshe lemor Moshe avdi meit V'ata kum avot hayarden hazeh ata v'chol ha'am hazeh el haaretz asher anochi noten lohem livnei Yisrael kol makom asher tidero kavraglechem balachem netativ kasher dibarti el Moshe מהמדבר והלבנון הזה, ויד ענק גדול מהפירות, כל ארץ החיתים, ויד הים הגדול מבוא השמש, יהיה גבולכם. לא יתייצב איש לפניך כל ימי חייך, כאשר הייתי עם משה, אהיה עמך עורפך ולא אעזבך. חזק ואמץ כי אתה תנחיל את העם הזה, את הארץ אשר נשבעתי לאבותם, לתת להם. רק חזק ואמץ מאוד, לשמור לעשות ככל התורה, אשר ציווך משה עבדי, אל תסור ממנה ימין ושמאל, למען תשכיל בכל אשר תלך. לא ימוש ספר התורה הזה מפיך, והגית בו יומם ולילה, למען תשמור לעשות ככל הכתוב בו, כי אז תצליח את דרכיך ואז תשכיל. הלא ציוויתיך חזק ואמץ, אל תרוץ ואל תחת, כי עמך אדוני אלוהיך בכל אשר תלך. ויצב יהושע את שוטרי העם לאמור, עברו בקרב המחנה, וצוו את העם לאמור, הכינו לכם את צידה, ועוד 3 ימים אתם עוברים את הירדן הזה, לבוא לרשת את הארץ אשר אדוני אלוהיכם נותן לכם לרשתה. ולראובני ולגדי ולחצי שבט המנשה אמר יהושע לאמור, זכור את הדבר אשר ציווה אתכם משה בן אדוני לאמור, אדוני אלוהיכם הניח לכם ונתן לכם את הארץ הזאת, נשיכם תפיכם ומקניכם ישבו בארץ אשר נתן לכם משה בעבר ירדן, ואתם תעברו עמושים לבני אחיכם, כל גיבורי החיל ועזרתם אותם, עד אשר יניח אדוני לאחיכם ככם, וירשו גם עמה את הארץ אשר אדוני אלוהיכם נותן להם, ושבתם לארץ ירושתכם וירשתם אותה, אשר נתן לכם Moshe Eved Adonai, V'yever Hayardei, Mizrach HaShamesh. Vayanu et Yehoshua lemor, Kol asher tzivitanu naseh, V'et kol asher tishalachenu nelech, Kechol asher shamanu el Moshe, Ken nishma elecha rak. Yeh Adonai Elohecha imach, Kasher haya im Moshe. Kol ish asher yamered picha, v'lo yishma devarecha, lechol asher tetzavenu yumat, Rak chazak me'ematz. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman omer v'yoseh, ha'medaber u'mekayem, shekol devorav emet v'tzedek. Neman Adonai Eloheinu, v'ne'emanim devorecha, v'davar echad midvarecha, chol hayashuv rekam, ki el melech ne'eman v'rachaman ata, baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'ne'eman v'chol devarav.
Amen.
Rachem al Tzion, yimet chayenu, v'lalu vat nefesh, toshia b'nera b'yameinu, baruch atah Adonai, v'sameach Tzion mevaneha. Samecheinu Adonai Eloheinu, v'leo hanavi avdecha, v'malchutei David meshichecha, V'mera yavo v'yagel libeinu, al kisa lo yeshev ezor, v'lo yilchalu oracherim et kevodo, ki v'shem kodshecha nishpata lo, shelo yichbe nero le'olam v'ed, baruch atah Adonai, Magen David. Ala Torah, Yala Avodah, Yala Nevi'im, V'al Yom HaShemini Chag HaAtzeret Hazeh, Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, L'sason u'lesimcha, L'chavod u'letifaret. Ala kol Adonai Eloheinu, Anachnu modim lach, Mevarechim otach, Yitbarach shimecha, Befi kochai tamid li'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, V'ganesh Yisrael v'azmanim.
Amen. We wish a Yasher Koach to Gershon for chanting the Haftarah for us this morning. We'll continue. We don't do the prayer for community today because that's saved for Shabbat. So we have the prayer for our country, and that's in Sim Shalom 148, 177 in Lev Shalem, but I do the substitute prayer written by Rabbi Martin Cohen, a prayer in the time of plague. Avinu Malkeinu, dear God in heaven, protect our families, our friends, and our neighbors as we negotiate these troubled seas in which we find ourselves afloat. Ever mindful of the fact that we are all your creatures, we turn to you for guidance and for strength as we pray that the public officials charged with bringing us through this crisis be granted wisdom, intelligence, and insight born of compassion and charity. And we pray too that the physicians, nurses, and hospital employees who are on the front lines be spared all distress and disease as they care for the stricken, for the elderly, and for the infirm. Most of all, we pray that you look with kindness and generosity on us all, and particularly on those already infected, for whose recovery we this day ardently pray, as is written in your holy Torah, for I, the Almighty, am the source of your healing. Amen. May such be your will. And the prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Sur Yisrael v'goalo. Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Sur Yisrael v'goalo. Barechet Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Gulatenu. Hagen aleha be'evrat chastecha, ufros aleha sukat shlomecha, ushlach orcha v'amitcha l'rosheha, sareha v'yoatzeha, v'takneim be'etzah tova milfanecha. Chazek et yedei meginei eretz kodshenu, v'hanchilem Eloheinu Yeshua, v'atera nitzachon ta'atreim, v'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam liyoshveha, v'nomar amen. We continue with Ashrei in Lev Shalem. That's the only downside of Lev Shalem is you jump around a lot. And Lev Shalem, we turn back to page 339 for Ashrei. In Sim Shalom, it's on page 151.
Ashrei Yeshvevetecha od Yehallelucha Selam.
Yeshvevetecha od Yehallelucha Selam, Shekach Halom Shalom Yad Avidah Hamelech Kavod.
Tilat Adonai yedaber pi, vivarech ko basa Hashem kodsho leolam vaed, va'anachnu nevarech yach, me'ata v'ad olam, hallelujah.
Before we continue, I just want to put the Lanskys on the spot and see if they'd be willing to do Kiddush at the end. Is that okay? Kiddush at the end? Excellent. Thumbs up. So we rise if we can for Chatzi Kaddish for Musaf. In the Sim Shalom, we're on page 155. In the Lev Shalem, 342. And then we start the Amida. In Lev Shalem, we turn ahead to page 166 for the Amida. In Lev Shalem, we just turn to the next page.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemech rabah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divra kirutech. Ve'yamlich malchutech. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon. U'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imeru. Amen. Yehei shmech rabah mevarach. Le'alam le'almei amaya Yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'ale v'yit'alal shemek tekudesha
Richu
le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma ve'imeru. Amen.
Again, 166 in Sim Shalom, 343 in Lev Shalem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel chasadim tovim vekone hakol vezocher chasadi avot umevi goel livnei vneihem lema'an shemo be'ava melech ozer ufokid umoshia umagen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ufoked Sarah Ata gibor leolam Adonai mechaye metim atarav lehoshia Mashiv haruach ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידה מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
הקדיש חג סוציאה סרבי קודש, הקדישים גם הקודש כפר ואחר זה אל זה ליומם.
נריצך ונקדישך כסוד שיח שרפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו.
ונשקתם שם זה לקום כל העולם, ברוך כמירו.
כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
רחמים רחמם יחדים שלו ודתרים פעמיים יבוא שלום.
ממקומו הוא יפן ברחמים ויחונם, המייחדים שמו ערב ובוקר, בכל יום תמיד, פעמיים ביעבה, שמע אומרים.
ישראל
ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
אלוהינו
הוא אלוהינו אבינו, הוא מלכנו מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו באדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ואדוני מלך כל הארץ ביום ההוא ינערך.
אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור.
ברוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון דור ודור, הללויה.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפי לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
In Lev Shalem, we continue 346 to 355. In Sim Shalom, it's 170 to 178. And in both we add the lines for Simchat Torah. As we conclude our private prayers, we continue with Sim Shalom, the top of 354 in the Lev Shalem or the top of 178 in the Sim Shalom.
שים שלום בעולם, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו תורת חיים ואהבת חסד, אהבת חסד וצדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום. שים שלום בעולם, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל עמך. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שים שלום בעולם, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
Amen. We continue with the full Kaddish, 181 in Sim Shalom, or back to page 203 in the Lev Shalem.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה, ועלמא דברה קירותך, וימליך מלכותך בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דרכו בית ישראל. בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמך במברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמך דקודשה. אלא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותו נבואתו דרכו ישראל, קדם אבוהון די ושמיה, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. אין כאלוהינו, אין כאדוננו, אין כמלכנו, אין כמושיענו, מכאלוהינו, מכאדוננו, מכמלכנו, מכמושיענו. נודה לאלוהינו, נודה לאדוננו, נודה למלכנו, נודה למושיענו. ברוך אלוהינו, ברוך אדוננו, ברוך מלכנו, ברוך מושיענו. אתה הוא אלוהינו, אתה הוא אדוננו, אתה הוא מלכנו, אתה הוא מושיענו. אתה הוא שהקדירו אבותינו לפניך את קטורת הסמים. יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה 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 לה, יאללה לה לה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה. אמר רבי אלעזר, אמר רבי חנינא, אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלך היא ולעולמי תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
207 in Lev Shalem, 184 in Sim Shalom for Mourners Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Hilma divrach irute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon of yomechon v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael b'agalav izman karivim ru amen Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'alamo me'omaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tishbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Just a couple quick announcements before we conclude. First, Yeshikov to Gershon Kival for chanting the Haftarah today. Yeshikov to all of you who participated in a Torah scavenger hunt. Made Simchat Torah as fun as it could be this year in light of the pandemic and not being able to be together. To Steve Franklin for making a Simchat Torah flag for us with a happy face on it. For all of us to be happy and joyous this Simchat Torah. A big Yasher Koach to Cantor Adina for beautiful services, not just today, but throughout this holiday season, all 4 weeks. Yasher Koach, beautiful services that we all very much enjoyed, and we were all spiritually uplifted because of her. This evening, to mark the end of the holiday, the weekday evening service at 7:20 this evening, and the link for that is the weekday evening link, or just go on the shul website to the calendar. Just go to calendar. You'll see today's date. You'll see 7:20 this evening. There's an event there. Click on that. You'll see the link for the evening service this evening. Tomorrow is Monday, regular weekday, and we're shifting our morning minyan start time. So Mondays and Thursdays will be at 8:45. So 8:45 tomorrow for the Monday morning minyan. And I'll send out an email tomorrow about opportunities for us to connect programmatically services for the rest of the week. In the meantime, we conclude with Adon Olam 211 in Lev Shalem, 187 in Sim Shalom.
Adon olam asher malach beterem kol yitzir nifra leit nasa v'chefto kol azai melech shemo nikra v'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora Vehu hayo, vehu hove, vehu yeh betifara, vehu echad ve'en sheni, le'amshilo le'achbira, beli reshit, beli taklit, ve'lo aoz, ve'hamisra, ve'hu eli, ve'chai goali, ve'tzorchev li, ve'yetzara, ve'hu nisi, umanos li, menat kosi, ve'yom ekra, ve'yado, afkid ruchi, ve'et ishan ve'ayira, v'imruchi geviati, Adonai li, ve'lo ira.
Kiddush, just 2 opening lines, and then the Lanskys will do Barei Priagafen. Ele Moadei Adonai Mikrei Kodesh Asher Tekeru Otam B'Moadam Vayidaber Moshe Moadei Adonai El B'nei Yisrael. Jonah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Amen.
Chag Sameach, everyone. You can unmute yourselves to wish us all.
Chag Sameach.
Chag
Chag Sameach, everyone. Chag Sameach.
Chag
Sameach,
everybody. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Chag Sameach.
Asher Koach, Cantor.
Chag Sameach, Yisha Koach, Rabbi and Cantor.
Yes, you're sure the rabbi and the cantor.
That's right.
I hope you enjoyed the video.
Rabbi
Chag
Sameach.
Sameach.
Thank you.
Yasha Koach.
Rabbi Layman.
Yeah, it was a wonderful.
Rabbi,
Yes.
you kept saying about how Adina led services. I want you to know that you did a super job.
Well,
But the point is this: what we've had to go through, not to have our regular services the way we normally have it. I want you to know that we really appreciate all that you and the cantor and the congregation did to make the services as meaningful as they've been to all of us. And it's been a pleasure to see people
Amen.
rather than
Amen.
that. Believe me.
Like it. It's not, yeah, it's not alcoholic too bad.
And Gershon, we enjoyed your
We
service.
hear Diane.
Not too alcoholic, huh? Without Dennis pouring.
I don't usually drink liquor.
Enjoying it.
Like it.
Yeah, it's just all right. You can do it, Diane.
Yes, once a year, you certainly can go to town.
Once
We like to-
we'd be doing it if we were in the synagogue, so why not?
That's right.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Gershon Yashikoa.
Yeah, Yasher Koach.
Yashikoa.
Yeah.
Be well, everyone. Be well.
Be well. That's
Be well.
exactly it. Be well.
Be well.
And let's hope
Yeah,
next
that's
year we could be in their own synagogue davening like this.
Next
Won't
year.
it?
Amen.
That'll be a
Next year.
blessing.
Yeah. That was a
That'll
beautiful
be a
video.
From your lips.
Yeah, wasn't I like the Warshawski. I like his music.
That was beautiful.
Lovely.
Just
Yeah,
beautiful.
the harmonies there, and the Soferet I thought was interesting.
Very interesting.
And BJ, you know, is an animal all by itself for their the stuff that they do musically, creatively. So yeah.
And Rabbi, your
It's
challenge
all
for
a
next
taste
year
of-
is how to figure out getting clips in when we're all in this year.
What'd you say, Al?
Your challenge for next year is how to figure out getting these little clips in when we're all too.
I know.
Listen, I got news for you.
When
Just
we're-
being in this, just
when
being
we're
in the
back
synagogue
to
is going to be a
normal.
blessing.
Yeah, when we're back to normal, how we're going
Go
to.
back to normal. It's a blessing. We don't need all this added stuff. We're
Yeah.
being in the synagogue and davening the way we
don't need all
normally
the
do.
added
Will be a
Damn
blessing.
thing.
That'll be the blessing.
All right, folks. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach, everyone. Chag Sameach, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.